Starting March smoothly. Namaste. Welcome to a fresh month of our commitment to sharing this practice. Thank you so much for being here. Let's begin in a comfortable seat. Whatever that looks like to you today, you can let it be something different than what it's been for the last couple of practices. And as you arrive, you might shift side to side, maybe shake things out, and then let yourself settle into stillness. This week, our theme, our focus will be on practicing observation. There's a quote from Krishnamurti: "The highest form of human intelligence is to observe yourself without judgment." The highest form of human intelligence is to observe yourself without judgment. No, I'm sorry. We'll observe Toby without judgment as well. All right, so seated comfortably, you might close your eyes softly if you're not already there. And begin that practice of observing. And this is something we've been working on throughout our time together. But it bears repeating. The mind has a tendency to be quite critical. Really, it's part of our survival, is our ability to judge things, whether they're safe or not. So my hope is that for the next 30 minutes, our time on our mat, we are completely safe in our space, and we can practice observing without judgment, releasing that natural tendency as best we can. So notice your next inhale. And notice the exhale that follows. Continue breathing. And of course, simply bringing our awareness to something like our breath will naturally change it. But try not to judge your breath as good or bad. You might notice if it feels shallow or jumpy. You might notice if it feels really fluid and smooth. Neither is good or bad. Just is what it is. If your hands are on your lap, notice the temperature. Your hands meeting your thighs or the skin, fabric. Maybe you can notice the weight of your bones pressing into the mat. Maybe you can sit a little taller. On your next inhale, you might lengthen your spine, lifting the crown of your head up to the sky. As you exhale, keep that length, but allow the muscles to relax. Inhale for length. Core activity stays turned on, but your shoulders can relax on your next exhale. Notice where the mind goes during these bits of stillness, slow beginning. The mind might be judging it, ready to run forward, maybe wishing it was still in bed. Again, practicing without judging. Just notice, observe. And try to keep this friendly neutrality throughout your practice. Bring your hands together in heart center. We will chant and vibrate the sound of Om. Of course, as all things, this is optional. You might choose to hum or not to vocalize at all. I will say vibration inside of the body can feel really good and have benefits. So let's take a full inhale. Exhale, sigh your breath out. Inhale for one long Om. Release your hands down to your knees. Flex your feet and ankles. Begin drawing large circles forward and large circles back. Again, a familiar way of beginning. Maybe you can bring a bit more observation to it, noticing how your weight shifts through your seat, through your legs as they make contact with the mat. You might notice the stretch in your back and glutes as you inhale forward, and notice how that stretch moves into the upper back as you exhale back. And as you're ready, switch directions, nice large circles. And return to neutral, sitting tall, hands on your shoulders, fingertips in front. Inhale, twist to your left, and exhale, twist to your right. You can do this at any pace that works for you. As you breathe here, imagine the breath traveling up into the mid-thoracic area. Imagine expanding your rib cage laterally so you're getting wider with every inhale and soften with every exhale. Keep a little flexion in your feet and ankles, helps to protect the knees. Return to neutral, draw some circles with your shoulders. Now inhale your arms out and up. Exhale your hands to the earth in front of you and lean forward. Your option for how you'd like to forward fold. I know some people like to round their spine and let their head hang heavy. I tend to prefer to keep my back straight, but depends on the day. So freedom to explore. You can sway side to side, noticing which leg is in front and then kind of tracing your awareness back to that set of gluteal muscles in your hip. Notice if you're clenching your jaw here, maybe you can relax that. On your next inhale, sit up tall, bring your hands back behind you. Passing through our Navasana boat pose. So I think most of you are familiar. If you have a favorite way to do this, you're welcome to go into it. Hands on mat, draw your elbows towards each other, shoulder blades slide together and down. Really hug your core muscles in. Knees stay together as maybe we float our toes off of the mat. Keep lengthening your spine. You might need to lean your head back in space slightly. Maybe shins come to parallel. Maybe arms lift up. Maybe one or both legs straighten. You can also place your hands on your thighs, keeping in mind here that it's more important to keep your spine lengthened than it is to go for a full expression of the pose. Notice if you have a tendency to push the limits, go all the way. Maybe this week you can observe that tendency and break a habit. Keep breathing here. See if you can lift your chest a little more. Spread your toes wide and wiggle them if they're off the mat. One more inhale. And as you exhale, set your feet down. Hands return behind you, preparing for a reverse tabletop. On an inhale, press your feet into the mat, lift your hips. And exhale, set your hips back down. Make any adjustments you might need to your hands. Shoulder blades sliding together on an inhale. We press into our hands and feet, lifting our hips. Exhale, set the hips back down. You have the option to keep inhaling and lifting the hips. Exhale, setting them down, or to join me here for about 3 breaths, staying steady in reverse tabletop. Broad through the collarbones. Any adjustments that are needed in the hands and wrists, go for it. See if you can send your hips a little higher. Works best for me to keep my chin sort of tucked, looking down towards my thighs. Maybe you can lift your chin to the sky for your next breath. And with your next exhale, set your hips down. Might feel good here to shake your arms out. And return to Sukhasana, easy seat, crossing the opposite leg in front, right into large circles, just looking here to even out the sides. You might close your eyes, helping you tap into your internal experience. Maybe it's fluttering through your mind what it is that brings you to this practice, any goals that you are interested in achieving. Switch directions of your circles, knowing that goals and having things to strive for are perfectly fine, but practicing also not being too attached to the outcome. Return to center, inhaling both of your arms up overhead. Exhale, drop your right hand down to the mat. Left arm reaches up and over, lateral spinal flexion. With your right hand on the mat, you can push the mat away, exaggerating that spinal curve. Keep both hips anchored, heart lifted. One more inhale here, reaching. Exhale, come up to center. Inhale, reach tall. Exhale, your left hand down, right arm up and over. Again, pushing the mat away with your grounded hand, helping to exaggerate that stretch while we lift our heart. Big inhale. Exhale, lift up to center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinge forward. Let the hands meet the mat, either leaning forward with a long spine or rounding your spine into a seated forward fold. Notice how the feelings, the sensations in this side might differ from the first side. Beginning of a new month, beginning of a new week. Allowing yourself to ease in. One more big breath here. Exhale, softening. Inhale, sit up tall. Couple more shoulder shrugs. I know that reverse tabletop can do a number. And now make your way into tabletop. You might want a blanket under your knees. As your hands land under shoulders, knees under hips, we'll move right into cow and cat. So inhale, drops the belly, shoulder blades slide together, heart pulls forward. And exhale, push the ground away, rounding the spine, navel towards spine, reaching to the sky. And approach even the most familiar postures as if they're brand new, looking at it with the eyes of a child. Noticing subtleties of how you feel as you breathe and flex your spine. Notice how you're sending the weight into your hands. There's a tendency for many of us to dump our weight into our wrists So of course, we can tip the attention into our fingertips, kind of clawing at the mat. As you keep breathing, glance at your arms and notice which direction the points of your elbows are going, and see if we can align them so they're pointing back towards our thighs. Come to a neutral spine. Tuck your left toes and then let them slide all the way back on the mat, lengthening your left leg. Hug your core muscles in. Maybe you go ahead and lift your left heel to the sky. Maybe you float your right arm out in front. Know that you can stop anywhere along the way. This is 100% your practice. Core muscles really engaged. Imagine stitching in your lower ribs so they're not flaring out. Inhale here. Exhale, round your spine, draw everything into the midline. Inhale, re-extend. Exhale to the midline. Inhale, re-extend. Stay here. Breathe naturally. See if you can pulse your heel and your hand a little higher and then down. Higher and down. Hello, gluteal muscles. Higher. And now set hand and knee down. Tuck your right toes. Slide the toes on the mat while you push the leg long. Hug your core muscles in. Go ahead and lift that right heel towards the sky if you choose. Maybe you float your left hand long, reaching in front of you. Again, core muscles really hugging in. Inhale for length. Exhale, round your spine, drawing it in. Inhale, re-extend. Exhale to the center. Inhale, re-extend. Exhale to the center. Inhale, re-extend, breathe here. And pulse, lifting the heel to the sky, arm a little higher. About 3 pulses. Release your hand and knee to the mat. Bring your big toes together, knees wide. Inhale deeply and exhale, send your hips back, passing through Balasana, child's pose. You can bend your elbows and place your head on your hands if you'd like. You can keep your arms extended up overhead. Maybe you want to bend your elbows, bring your palms together in prayer mudra over your head. Pause for a breath. Re-extend your arms long, reaching overhead. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift your torso back up. Pass through tabletop, tuck your toes. Lower your forearms to the mat, elbows right under shoulders. If you've got the block handy, you might place that between your hands. On an inhale, tuck your toes, send your hips high, passing through dolphin pose just for a couple of breaths. Thinking of this more as creating space than trying to get deep into the posture and nail it. So you can move, sway the hips side to side. And as you're ready, drop your knees, send your hips back, return to child's pose for a moment. Inhale, rise back up, forearms stay on the mat. Tuck your toes, this time lift up into forearm plank. Make your adjustments. Core muscles really engaged, long spine, tailbone reaching down towards heels, elbows really pushing into the mat. So again, we have that sense of buoyancy or hollowness in the armpits that I talk about sometimes. Another big inhale here. Exhale, engage your core, little bend in your knees, send your hips high, walk your feet up, find dolphin pose again. Just do the best you can. We're always working with what we've got. What more can we do, right? So work with yourself where you are. You can observe it without assigning any judgment. One more big inhale. Exhale, drop your knees. Place your hands on the mat. Preparing for downward facing dog. A big inhale here. And exhale into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. As I like to remind us, a bend in the knees is invited here. This posture, like so many of them, is about lengthening the spine. And since the muscular system of the body is like a pulley system, we need to put a little bend in our knees, some slack in our hamstrings to allow our spine to stay long here. So this upward, upside down V shape. On an inhale, lift your right leg to the sky, three-legged dog. You can draw some circles with the ankle. Breathing. With your next inhale, look forward between your hands, and exhale, step your right foot to the top of the mat, whatever it takes to get there. Drop your left knee when you arrive. You can keep your left toes tucked or untucked. You can keep your hands on the mat, the block. Maybe on an inhale, you bring your hands up to your thighs, stacking shoulders over hips. Maybe we reach our arms up overhead. Always making any adjustments needed. If your arms are up overhead, you might fold over to your right side. You might draw circles with the hands, giving the wrists some love and movement. About 3 more breaths here. Option to clasp your hands behind your back. Yeah. Getting a luxurious heart-opening breath here. Wherever you went with your arms on your next inhale, let's see if we can reach them up. Exhale your hands down to the blocks or mat and step yourself into plank pose, pausing for an inhale in plank. And as you exhale, lift your hips for downward facing dog. You can always come into child's pose if that serves you better in this moment. Can you relax your shoulders away from your ears a little bit? Think about wrapping those upper arms so that the elbows are pointing more towards the body. One more breath here. And on an inhale, lift your left heel to the sky. Keep breathing as you draw some circles with your ankle. Look forward, inhale, and with an exhale, step or swing that left foot to the top of the mat. Drop your right knee. Lengthen your spine as you inhale. Maybe you lift your torso, shoulders stacking over hips. Maybe arms reach up overhead. Breathing here. I think one of Kristen's cats just turned off her video. Keep breathing. If arms are up overhead, you might fold over towards the left. Another breath or two here. Maybe you choose to sweep your arms back behind you, clasping hands in yoga mudra, getting a heart-opening pose. Big inhale and exhale. If you can, inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Exhale your hands to the earth. Inhale, preparing to step forward, and exhale right into forward fold, Uttanasana. Feel free to put a generous bend in your knees here. You might clasp opposite elbows and sway side to side. You can shake and nod your head, releasing tension in the neck. On an inhale, press into your feet, rise all the way up, long spine. We reach up. Exhale your hands to your heart center. Inhale your arms out and up. Exhale over to your right, really grounding your left foot into the mat. Keep your heart lifted, just like when we were in the seated side fold. Inhale deeply. Exhale, everything contracts. We return to neutral. Inhale, arms stay up. And exhale, fold over to your other side. Noticing the weight shifting in your feet. So we work for our equilibrium. Big inhale. Exhale, return to center. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hinge forward all the way down. Hands touch down. Step your right foot back. Spiral the heel down, setting up for warrior two. On an inhale, cartwheel your arms up. Quickly passing through warrior two. Stretch the arms, wiggle the fingers, feeling some energy move through the arms. On an inhale, your left arm comes up to the sky, reverse warrior. Exhale, cartwheel your arms down. Step yourself back into downward facing dog. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step the right foot to the top of the mat. Left heel spirals down. Inhale, finding Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Arms reaching away from each other. Maybe give them a wiggle in the fingers. On your next inhale, the right hand reaches towards the sky. Exhale, cartwheel your arms down. Step back into downward facing dog. Inhale there. Exhale, drop your knees. Send your hips back, swing the legs around. Returning to Navasana, core inspired morning. So finding Navasana that works for you. It can be anywhere in between sitting with your feet on the mat or taking full expression. We'll be here for about 3 breaths, slowly opening up into a wider and longer boat, making our way down to our spine. Move as slowly as you can tolerate. Notice when the shakes start to come in as your body works to stabilize, and eventually roll all the way down onto your spine. Keep your feet planted at first. Open your arms out wide. Cross your right leg over your left. Pick up and scoot your hips to the right. Big inhale. And as you exhale, let your knees fall off to the left. Of course, you can do any spinal twist that works for you. If this feels a little too intense, then you can just let your knees fall to the left. They don't have to be stacked. Inhale, make your way back through neutral. Cross your left leg over your right now. Hips shift to the left just a bit. Inhale, and exhale, the knees fall off to the right. Breathe deeply. Big inhale, neutralize, return your feet to the mat, settle your hips. Walk your feet out as wide as the edge of the mat, let your knees fall together. One hand on your low belly, one hand on your heart space. Take a couple of breaths to relax into this posture. As you inhale through your nose, you can imagine letting the breath spill all the way in and down, expanding the space under your hand on the belly. And as you exhale, you might notice the belly drawing back towards the spine. You can pull it up towards the heart, squeezing air out. You can keep breathing into your belly in this way, or release your legs and arms long if you prefer for just a moment of Shavasana. Remembering that Krishnamurti teaches us the highest form of human intelligence is to observe yourself without judgment. Deepen your breath and invite movement into your wrists and ankles. Of course, if you have the time, stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like and move into meditation. We'll go ahead and return to an easy, comfortable seat. And we'll close this morning's practice with our hands together in heart center. Press the hands together and lengthen your spine as you do so. Let's share one round of Om. Big inhale. Thank you so much for sharing your practice. Namaste.